action!
We're taking a look at X2 Wolverine's Revenge for the PlayStation 2, Finding Nemo for the GameCube, Enter the Matrix for the Xbox, and we're looking at the games based on the Incredible Hulk. All right, we can't talk about summer blockbusters without talking about the enormous movie game integrated project called Enter the Matrix. This one's from Atari, and it's developed by Shiny Entertainment. We're talking about it on the Xbox, but it's also available for the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and PC. What'd you think of this one?
The thing that hits me about this game is that it's not really based around the movie. It's a whole other new storyline that is supposed to run parallel to the movie. Now,
Right.
Some people may think it's cool, and I've been reading a lot of interviews with the Wachowski brothers about the game.
Wachowskis.
And them too. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I think it's a lame excuse for not being able to play Trinity or Neo or Morpheus.
Lame excuse.
You don't play the Spider-Man game and play Mary Jane, okay?
I was disappointed. I have to be fair and square here. I was disappointed by the fact that you couldn't be Neo and that you weren't able to sort of take on the role of the main characters. But it's cool that the Wachowskis took a part in the development of this game. I mean, they actually sat down and designed the story and worked with the game designers to make sure that their story was told through the game. They saw that video games have as much merit for storytelling
we commend them for that.
as the movies do. Unfortunately, the game is littered with so many problems and you know, disappointing elements. It doesn't live up to the expectation at all.
I think this is what happens when movie people try to write a video game. I mean, leave it to the game designer.
Even the cut sequences with the filmed bits that the Wachowski brothers actually put together for the game, some of those come off a little bit cheesy.
Captains.
Captain Niobe, my crew and I appreciate what you did for us back there.
How is he?
He's alive. Happy to be alive.
Let's get going, because you know Morpheus is not going to show until after we get started.
I agree. I don't like us all being in the same place for too long. Why don't you tell us what this is all about, Niobe?
The machines are digging.
I didn't go to the Matrix
for the
movie
dinner scenes.
for the dialogue, all right?
I got you.
I went there to see action stuff.
I thought they really did a poor job with the driving scenes.
The running animation.
Yeah, it's a little berserk, isn't it?
What is that?
Well, how about the climbing up the ladders?
How does that go?
I didn't like the fact that the camera angles were a little bit wonky, and it feels more like the world is rotating around your character than you're moving the camera and running in different directions and stuff.
That's the single biggest problem in the game is the controls, especially on the PlayStation 2, where your strafing is on the top buttons, and it's not like every other PlayStation 2 game out there like this where you have the control on the right joystick.
On the Xbox, you actually fire your weapon by pressing the little black button. And that little tiny black button is just not something that you need to use, especially when you need to shoot as much as you have to in the game.
Now, the actual moves and motion captures in the game,
this is the fun part.
Aside from the asinine running and climbing the ladder animations, the actual fight sequences...
This is what saves this game. This is what makes the game enjoyable. The fighting, the hand-to-hand sort of combat stuff that you get to do, the gunfire stuff.
At any point, you can go into bullet time mode and kind of run up the wall and go into slow-mo, and the sound slows down. Awesome. It gets really cool, and you can flip off walls and pick up guns and do somersaults. And you know what I liked in the game was the hacking system, which I thought was unique, where you have to actually know a little bit about DOS.
They're smart game designers at Shiny. They've been doing this for years and years. They know what makes a good game. Unfortunately, it's sort of the presentation that sort of undoes the experience here. I can only give this a 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 7.5. On the positive side, the motion captures and action sequences are really well done. We love the hacking you could do in the game, but even more so, we love the bullet time slow-mo mode.
On the negative side, the animations are kind of flaky, especially running up ladders. Major control issues, way too complicated for an action game like this. And probably one of the most major complaints is the fact that even though it is a parallel story, playing Ghost or Niobe just isn't as fun as Neo or Morpheus. All right, let's switch now from the dark sort of action world of The Matrix, and we're going to head over to the colorful underwater scenes of Finding Nemo. This is from THQ for the GameCube, but it's also available for PlayStation 2 and Xbox.
First you were all like, whoa, and then we were like, whoa, and then you were like, whoa.
The Pixar movies, and Finding Nemo is definitely, you know, one of the best. They always appeal to an older audience as well because there's lots of levels of comedy and there's lots of really amazing artwork and design that goes into these movies.
It's one of those games where you just get in, it's simple to control.
Right.
You're not doing the same thing over and over again, you know? You got these little different missions. Sometimes you're following fish, sometimes you're in a race, other times you're bouncing on sponges and things.
They've done some interesting things with the perspectives on the game. It's more of a 2D game than anything else, a 2D with 3D objects all over the place. But there are places in the game where you're swimming into the world or swimming towards the screen or towards the audience this way. There are some places where it does feel like an Echo the Dolphin style 3D kind of explore type game.
Right.
But there are also lots of little puzzle challenges, and you'll find that the fish have to grab little colored rocks and drop them onto you know, appropriate little puzzle pads, or give a pearl to a clam or something like that.
The lighting is cool.
The lighting is really nice.
The surface comes through and it lights up the coral.
You don't get all of the actor voices from the film in the game voices, but they sound close enough.
They sound pretty similar.
See, I suffer from short-term memory loss.
Short-term memory loss. I don't believe this.
No, it's true. I forget things almost instantly. It runs in my family. Well, I mean, at least I think it does. Where are they? Can I help you?
What was up with those loading screens, though? That's what I want to know.
That's the biggest problem with this game.
3-minute loading screen. You know what would have made the loading screens better?
What's that?
Nemo's on the screen when it's loading. If he was pooping, that would have been fun. See, because I would have sat there for 10 minutes watching the fish poop.
I'm going to give this game 7 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 7 as well.
On the positive side, the graphics in the game are very close to the source. Really nice looking stuff. The action transitions from 2D scrolling pieces to pseudo 3D action adventure kind of stuff. And the interaction between all the fishy characters is kind of fun, especially if you're a fan of the film.
On the negative side, the loading time was absolutely horrendous. Although there are a lot of different things to do in this game, it's really skewed to a younger audience. Sometimes it's a little unclear on what your objectives are.
Well, that's it for The Matrix and Finding Nemo. When we come back, we're going to take a look at X2, Wolverine's Revenge.
Hulk smash!
You know, I almost want to take my Game Boy and smash it up. I've been playing The Incredible Hulk on my Game Boy Advance, and I got to tell you, very disappointed, very disappointed. They have an awesome license here. The Hulk, as we all know, is a rampaging monster superhero guy. He can do all kinds of damage to all kinds of stuff. And what they've done for this game is they've gone an isometric pseudo 3D viewpoint. So you've got the camera pulled way back. So your big monster Hulk is actually a little tiny green sprite that runs around. Because you're looking at the game from overhead, trying to, you know, get your control bearings all down properly, very difficult. So there's all kinds of these stupid collision problems. You run up to a barrel to try to pick it up and you're bumping it out of the way. It's like you're stumbling around and it's like you're blind Hulk or something, you know? And you want to beat up on bad guys, but they're sort of just bouncing back for no reason, or you're pushing chairs and tables out of your way. So there's about 30 different levels in the game, but they all look very, very similar. So it gets very repetitive very quickly. The bad guys have terrible AI, too. They just stand around. There's really no challenge there, except that they just pop out of thin air, and they keep coming at you. Don't you love bad guys like that in video games? One thing I really did enjoy were the cutscenes in the game. They actually use, like, comic book panels, and they have all of this really cool stylistic comic book art that looks like it's been torn from pages from comics that are 20 years old or something. That stuff is really nice. The music and the audio effects in the game are very, very subpar. This, you know, they tried to do something cool by giving you a multiplayer game in there where you could play as different colored Hulks and go battling against each other. And there are a bunch of different sort of moves that you've got. You can charge into bad guys and a big super smash kind of graphic will pop up, sort of comic book style. That stuff's all kind of nice. It's just that this game could have been so much more. The Incredible Hulk gets an incredibly non-hulking 4.5. All right, we're back. We're still talking about games based on summer blockbusters. This time, it's X2 Wolverine's Revenge from Activision. It's for the PS2, but also out on the GameCube and Xbox. What'd you think of this one?
Well, one of the problems I had was the artificial intelligence on the guys you fight. I mean, there were times where I would just like run around guys, they wouldn't do anything, and I'd be standing right behind them, and other guys are just looking at me, and I'm killing everyone.
It's true. You'll be walking through as Wolverine, sort of sneaking by, and you'll see guys like pointing their gun, looking in the absolute opposite direction. You'll walk right up behind a guy and just go whoosh, and then he'll wake up and start to try to attack you.
Well, wait, that's the other problem I have, though. You got the Wolverine claws, right?
Right.
And then you could go up behind a guy and go whoosh,
yes.
But it doesn't kill him. It's
No.
like, wait a second, it's supposed to be the hardest metal in the universe kind of thing.
What they should have done is made the AI tougher and made the guys a little bit weaker.
Now, did the animation on Wolverine seem a bit stiff to you or clunky? What was going on
Well,
there?
it's definitely not a state-of-the-art looking video game at all. The characters all look a little bit too blocky for my liking. The textures aren't that great in the game. There is some sort of a cartoony, you know, comic booky kind of look to everything.
Comic booky,
but it's not as slick or as polished as
I gotta
the Spider-Man
call my comic
game.
bookie.
You gotta call your comic.
I gotta call my comic bookie. I gotta put a bet on the
Hulk versus Spider-Man.
Bet on the
I did like some of the close-ups during some of the cut sequences and stuff. I mean, you get the snarl in Wolverine's face.
Yeah,
and
the cinematics and cut scenes were good.
Hey, birthday boy, I brought you a present. What? Sorry, I didn't get time to gift wrap it.
You know, another bothersome part of the game, though, getting back to the negatives, is the save point stuff.
Right.
Was brutal.
This is one of those games where if you don't get through the entire level, you have to start at the beginning when you die.
And as the game progresses, these levels start to get longer and longer, and the save points are longer and longer.
There's two other things in the design that sort of artificially lengthen the game as well. You can recharge your power, because Wolverine has the power to...
Your health meter.
Yeah, to regenerate and heal himself.
Well, I cheat. It's not called cheating. I take advantage of the system, as they would say. So, for example, if I beat up a guy and my health gets low, I'll just sit there and wait.
Yep.
I sit there for 100%, then I take out the next guy, then you stop, you wait till your bar goes up, come around the corner, get the next guy.
It's not fun watching this guy play, let me tell you. The other thing that slows down the pace, too, is you have stealth moments where Wolverine starts sort of walking a little bit slower.
You can see heat on
the heat all over the place.
You have these finishing moves as well that you can collect throughout the game.
Right. I didn't actually like the physical sort of tactile response in the fighting either. I thought that there was a little bit of hesitation on every button press. You know, it's just not as fun to fight as it should be in a Wolverine game.
I really like the fact that they got Mark Hamill and Patrick Stewart to do the original voiceover.
I was happy to see Patrick Stewart. He's from the movie, obviously. He's playing Professor X. That's cool.
Another great thing.
Mark Hamill as Wolverine.
Colossus, old bud. What are you doing here? Sure ain't waiting for a bus.
I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I give it a 7. On the positive side, you get original voice acting by Patrick Stewart and Mark Hamill, and some of the finishing moves are really cool.
On the negative side, the fighting in this Wolverine game just isn't as tactile and satisfying as you want it to be. The AI on the bad guys is ridiculous, and overall, the game just looks really bland, especially when you compare it to Spider-Man. Say you are Wolverine and you want to play your PlayStation 2 games, but your claws keep cutting the cord on your PlayStation 2 controller. We've got something to help you out there, Wolverine. This one's called the Logitech Cordless controller for the PlayStation 2, and it's similar in design, look, and feel to the Xbox cordless controller that Logitech has put out and we've reviewed on this show.
You know why it's great that this controller is wireless?
Why?
Because it's shaped like a boomerang. So if you're playing and you get really mad, you go, boom, and then you can still play.
You definitely are going to feel the quality in this thing. It's also very ruggedly designed, so when you are using it as a boomerang, you're not going to have to worry about it hitting the walls.
Well, if it does, you're going to put a heck of a dent in there.
Yeah, not only is it larger, but it's also quite a bit heavier. I actually dropped it on my
toe,
on my foot, and I didn't have a shoe on, and I was in pain. The other thing about this controller is that it's not cheap. It's going to run you about 60 bucks.
60 bucks?
Yes, I know. Hold on to your hats. So you're going to recommend the cordless controller?
You know, I'm not.
Okay.
So there. I want them to make a PlayStation 2 controller, wireless, that's exactly like the PlayStation 2 controller.
Performance is excellent, but I can't recommend this one either.
Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Give us what we want.
On the positive side, the performance of the Logitech cordless controller is excellent. You can be playing games from miles away. The button layout is great, and the feel of the controller is very sturdy and tough. It's going to take some abuse, and it'll work really well as a boomerang.
On the negative side, you need really big hands for this controller. You know what they say about people with big hands? Big gloves. It's extremely heavy, so when you drop it on your buddy's foot, he's going to be in some pain.
Stick around. We're going to be right back with a look at the new Hulk game. Don't make him angry.
Right, Quake 64 for the Nintendo 64.
Well, I tell you what, they're probably going to want to lock me up for this one, but...
Yeah, me too, I guess.
I'm not a Quake player, so when I got the N64, it's exactly like the PC. It's very, very fluid motion.
Don't get me wrong, but didn't you like GoldenEye? Wasn't GoldenEye one of your favorite games?
Absolutely, but look at the graphics in GoldenEye.
Yeah, the graphics are
Quake 64.
The graphics are better in GoldenEye.
A lot
cool.
better.
It's James Bond, okay? I'll give you that.
The sound is a lot better.
But Quake 64 is just as much action. It's faster than GoldenEye.
The thing is that in Quake 64, you don't have the network play multiplayer option.
It's evil. There's tons of gore. The effects are beautiful. The lighting is great. It's a great adaptation. It looks like a 3D effects accelerated version of Quake on the PC. There's a few special levels and some extra additions. People that have never played Quake but liked Doom and like those first-person games are going to like the heavy action in this game. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a great, great addition to the
I'm at the other end of the scale, and again, it's probably because I don't like the genre of games, so keep that in mind when I give this score of about a 5.
About a 5. Yeah. Too good.
I'm not being brutal, I'm just being honest.
Hey, I'm here at EB Games, and I've got a buried treasure for you. This is called Rampart. It was a great arcade game developed by Atari in 1990, and then in 1997-98, Digital Eclipse brought it over to the Game Boy Color. Now, this game was kind of cool because it was a take on the whole Tetris kind of puzzle thing, because you had all these little shapes that you had to sort of build your castle with, but then it also had this action element where you could move a cursor around and fire cannonballs at attacking pirate ships. Sounds a little bit kind of strange, but it actually was very addictive gameplay. The strategies are actually kind of difficult because the castles, you have to build them so quickly because the fleets that are attacking you get bigger and they're coming at all of your castles all at once, and you're kind of freaking out because you're running to try to build one castle over here and this castle is getting destroyed over there, so you're bouncing back and forth. It'll drive you crazy. The game does get very difficult, and it's definitely not going to be one that you're going to pick up and master the first time that you play, but I guarantee you're going to be addicted to this game. It stood the test of time. It is definitely one of the cooler Game Boy Color games that you can pick up. There's also a 2-player link in here so you can hook up with a buddy and play against them. Go check out Rampart, a great action strategy puzzle game for the Game Boy Color. All right, the other big summer comic book-based movie is, of course, The Hulk, and there is a Hulk video game. Surprise, surprise. This one's from Vivendi Universal and Radical. It's for the Xbox, but it's also on PlayStation 2 and GameCube. What'd you think of this one?
Now, the Hulk, see, he can get away with kind of this simple Hulk smash style of gameplay,
right,
which I didn't feel the Wolverine could, but this is pretty much the same style of game. The great thing about the Hulk, though, is it has a very unique visual style.
Yes.
In that it's kind of like a 3D cartoon, but it's kind of like a comic book, but it's kind of like a video game.
I love the cutscenes going right into the gameplay, and it's very, very smooth, fluid transition. The facial animation stuff on the Hulk is awesome. He really looks like he's really, really angry, and you don't want to get this guy angry.
Someone else.
I think the most satisfying thing about the look of the game is all of the destructible elements that are in there. You got pieces flying everywhere, smashing through glass buildings, jumping in through giant metal doors.
You can literally pick up every single item in the entire game and either smash it or bludgeon people with it, which is even, including people themselves. But the best part of the game, I thought, was when you pick up a guy and you throw him off the roof of the building.
Now, it isn't always just a Hulk smash-style gameplay. Sometimes you play as the mild-mannered Bruce Banner, the scientist.
Boring.
And his levels are kind of, well, they're boring. But he's kind of like a stealthy dude, and he's got to solve puzzles and sneak around and not get seen. It does get kind of boring after a while.
He doesn't climb walls like Spider-Man.
It was so kind of Final Fight kind of repetitive. You're just always moving
that's
from
what Hulk does. What does Hulk do?
He smashes.
Hulk smash!
All right, I give you that. But if that's all you're looking for is just Hulk smash, you're going to be entertained.
I'll tell you what was great was the rumble in this game was phenomenal.
You got to have the rumble going.
And with the cinematics, you know, when the helicopter's going and when Hulk smashes on boom on the ground.
That's fun.
I had the controller down my pants more than I had it in my hands.
Right. My favorite part of the game, speaking about rumbles in your pants, Jennifer Connelly is in this game.
There you go.
Well, she's not actually, her voice isn't in the game, but there's pictures of Jennifer Connelly.
I tell you what, you got pictures of Jennifer Connelly and a rumble pack down your pants. I don't know what else to say. Sounds like a hit to me.
I'm going to give it 7 out of 10.
I give it a 7.5. On the positive side, the visual style of this game is really unique. The cutscene cinematics are well done, but my two favorite things in the game, throwing people off the roof and pictures of Jennifer Connelly.
On the negative side, the action in the game, although fun, gets very, very repetitive. Once again, the artificial intelligence of the bad guys is very disappointing. And the fact that all the biggest bad guys in the game all have the Hulk's powers as well is discouraging, especially those Hulk dogs. Today we took a look at Enter the Matrix for the Xbox. The bullet time is cool in this game, and we love the movie extras and the hacking, but we can't understand why we can't play as Neo, Morpheus, or Trinity. On the PlayStation 2, we looked at X2 Wolverine's Revenge. There's some cool comic book extras in the game, and the voice acting's pretty fun, but the gameplay itself is very routine. Also on the Xbox, we looked at the Hulk. There's great destruction in this game, and there's cool pictures of Jennifer Connelly, but the Hulk gets very repetitive very quickly. On the GameCube, we looked at Finding Nemo. This is a great-looking game that's perfect for the kids, but the load times are unbearable. In hardware, we looked at Logitech's Cordless controller for the PlayStation 2. Now, there's great functionality in this thing. It's just really big and really heavy. On the Game Boy Advance, I looked at the Incredible Hulk. The overhead perspective on this game makes the Hulk look way too puny. So there you have it, a bunch of games based on some of the biggest summer movies, and once again we see, well, most of them are mediocre. Which one was your favorite?
Is that a Logitech controller in your pants, or are you just happy to see me?
Don't look at my pants at the end of the show.
He's turning into the Hulk.
All right, we're going to see you guys next time.
Hi.